after the final Prophet Ahmad. This is the meaning of the finality of Ahmad in which we believe. If there are other reasons why prophets came, if there are other functions to perform which prophets were sent, then if those functions are still required to be performed, why should prophets be stopped? That is the question. A nema should not be put an end to. If a nema is put an end to, this is in itself a curse. In the first place, in the law, as far as the law is concerned, we have proved beyond doubt that because that nema would come to stay, so there is no need to change. Because that nema is perfect, so there is no room for change. That's understandable. But when you turn to the purification, such prophets are also who can purify. That means the best of without any rhyme or reason. Now, only one reason can be thought of, that people have been so purified by Ahmad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and so permanently purified. By the very teachings of Ahmad that was not to happen, because people were to revert to the old habits, old corrupt habits, so much so that according to Ahmad they were to be united with the Jews of the earlier times. So if they could deteriorate to such a degree, and Allah has declared that no purifier of the order of the Prophet would ever come, you would have to make do with lesser men. Is that a blessing or a lack of blessing? This is the issue. This is the question. Secondly, teaching of the book, as I mentioned, if the teaching which was, the book which was taught by Ahmad was understood so perfectly that from then on, no new light on that teaching was needed to be thrown, then of course no new prophet is required to teach the book. But if on the contrary, right from that time that Ahmad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam closed his eyes, differences began to appear about the very teaching of the Holy Quran, and they went on enlarging and exaggerating, and so much enlarging and deviating from each other that practically they created 2 books and then 3 books and more books, until the Quran studied from the angle of various sects seems to be a different book completely than when it is studied from the angle of a different sect. So in fact, despite the fact that the Quran remains to be one, 72 Qurans have been created from the angle of the teaching. Looking at it from the angle of the teaching. But the non-Ahmadi Muslims tell us there is no need for anyone having received the guidance from Allah and having taught the same book as it was taught by Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because once he has taught us, and that is enough. If that is enough, then be happy and be content with this divergence of opinions on Islam and this deviation and this contradiction and all that rot that you are suffering through. So, this can only be attended by someone who is guided by Allah, and in the light of Allah's guidance, he again teaches the same book. It can become one book only then. Until that time, this book would remain to be looked at as different books. As far as the hikmah is concerned, no need to enlarge this subject anymore, because when you read the earlier scholars between the time of Ahmad and Hazrat Massih-e-maud discoursing on the philosophy of Islamic teaching, you are shocked to learn that the philosophy provided by them or understood by them is so much off the mark, is so much against the facts of life, that you, instead of gaining something, you lose faith in the Holy Quran by following that philosophy. Fantastic things have been said about the philosophy of the teachings of the Holy Quran. And when Hazrat Massih-e-maud came, in the light of what he was shown by Allah himself, when he revealed the philosophy of the teachings of Islam, you can read that book, not only you, give it to any non-believer either. You will be so deeply impressed by the philosophy of the teachings of Islam as revealed to Hazrat Massih-e-maud that the same great stature of the Holy Quran is re-established as it was established in the time of Ahmad. Only the other day I received a letter from Yugoslavia concerning this subject. I had told you earlier that Allah has provided us with an aid, like He has promised He would give us Ansar from among non-Muslims in Yugoslavia. One who is a Serbo-Croat, who speaks Serbo-Croatian language. Now we were lacking a scholar in Serbo-Croatian who could translate Ahmadiyya literature for us. Although after a long effort and labor, we prepared one Ahmadi scholar in Albanian language, which is also spoken in Yugoslavia, but only spoken in a minority province. The major language is Serbo-Croatian. So Allah gave us as a gift a Serbo-Croatian scholar who by chance came across Hazrat Massih-e-maud's book, Where Did Jesus Die? Jesus in India. And he was so deeply impressed by that book that he translated it on his own. And having done it, he contacted some publishers. But just before publishing it, he was such a moral person, he thought it essential to take prior permission from the headquarters of the Ahmadiyya community. So he wrote a letter, introduced everything, and told us that this is where I stand. Everything is ready. Now I want the final permission from you. Can I publish this? So when this letter ultimately reached me, I not only gave him permission to publish this, but also, just a minute, that was not all. He was so deeply impressed by that book that he wrote that he has decided also to publish other books of Hazrat Massih-e-maud, translate them and publish them if they are sent to him. A desire is created in him, a thirst is created in him. So I sent him some books, among them the philosophy of the teachings of Islam. This is the subject we are discussing now. Now the other day I received his comments on this. He was so excited after reading this. He said, after reading this, I understand that Islam is a completely new thing. It's so different from the Islam known to us previously that I'm exhilarated. And he wrote to me that he is quite certain that if the West is introduced to Islam through this book, this is